Welcome back to the Freedom Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Sutherland, your business system strategist, helping you make business systems easy and simple. And today we are talking about a rule that's going to revolutionize how you think about documenting your business processes. I've got a question for you. Can you explain your most important business process in 7 steps or less? If you can't, then your process is overcomplicated. And that's exactly what's killing your team's productivity or limiting you from being able to get team to come in and actually be supportive and successful. So today we are diving into the science behind the 7-step rule, what proper process documentation should really look like, and how to spot the red flags that your processes have become productivity killers instead of productivity boosters. Let's start with some science, because I'm not one for just pulling numbers out of thin air. Back in 1956, a Harvard psychologist named George Miller published one of the most influential papers of his time. It was in cognitive psychology, and it was called The Magical Number 7 plus or minus 2, Some Limits on Our Capacity for Processing Information. Bottom line, Miller discovered that the average person can only keep 7 plus or minus 2 items in their working memory. This became known as Miller's Law, and it's been validated by decades of research and science since then.
Is your business the baby that never grows up? It keeps you up at night, interrupts date night, and forget taking a vacation because you can't ever find the right sitter. Good news! Our signature clockwork method program turns your business into the independent, thriving operation it was meant to be. We help you build the processes that empower the people to scale with profitability without you micromanaging every detail. The clockwork method isn't just another coaching program that leaves you with a heap of to dos, just adding more to your plate. In this program, we build the systems with you, handling the big tech heavy lifting that just slows you down. Ultimately, the clockwork method is here to help you transform your business from that needy, dependent operation into a mature business that runs itself. Discover more today at theclockworkmethod.com.
So now you might be thinking, well, that's really great and all, but what does that have to do with business? Business is so much more than 7 steps. Well, it has everything to do with how you package that information. When you hand someone a process with 15 steps, you're literally asking their brain to do something it's not designed to do. And you're setting them up for failure before they even start. What's worse is if you were to take a new person and hand them a flowchart with 15 steps, automatically they're overwhelmed and they start to doubt themselves, which is not a good way for, empowering or boosting morale. So think about it. Have you ever looked at a complex process document and felt overwhelmed yourself? That's not because you're not smart enough. It's because you're human and human brains have limits. The research from Laws of UX confirms this. They say, and I quote, organize content into smaller chunks to help users process, understand, and memorize easily. Now, this isn't just about website design, which is the fundamental point of Laws of UX, but it applies to everything from your website and marketing, but also to internal systems and information that you actually want people to be able to use. So what does this mean for your business? Simple. If your process takes more than 7 steps to document, it's not streamlined. It's an overcomplicated mess that's costing you time, money, and sanity. So let's give you a real world example. Most companies document their customer onboarding process with 15, 20, even 25 steps. Then they wonder why new customers drop off, why their team makes mistakes, and why nothing seems to run smoothly. But when you apply the 7-step rule, magic happens. Teams actually follow the process. New hires can execute it after one training session. Mistakes drop dramatically, and the team is more cohesive because everybody knows their role. So what does a properly documented 7-step process actually look like? And more importantly, how can you break down what feels like overcomplicated systems into something that's simple? Well, let's break down the anatomy of a process that people will actually use. Step 1 is a clear trigger. What kicks off the process? This should be so specific that there's no ambiguity. Not when a customer calls, but when a customer calls asking for a refund on an order placed within 30 days. That would be a more specific trigger. Then step 2 is an immediate action that relates to that trigger. So for example, if somebody does call asking for a refund with an order within 30 days that they just ordered within the last 30 days, the next step says, open the customer service system and pull up their order. Now, do you see how that's a very direct, clear, specific step? And it starts with the word open, which is a verb, and that's going to be something we tie into a little bit later. Steps 3 through 5 are core actions. These are your essential steps. So maximum 3 to 4 actions that drive the process forward. Each one, again, should start with a verb. Verify, send, update, confirm, that kind of thing. Step 6, documentation. How do you record that this was completed? So in other words, in this case, update the customer record with refund details. So what ended up happening? Did you refund the customer? And if so, document your process. Step number 7 is the handoff. So what happens next? Who gets notified? Send confirmation email to customer and notify accounting team. Okay, that would be a step. Now, even that is slightly complicated because there's actually 2 steps in one. Send confirmation email to customer and notify accounting team. What would be even more ideal is if the system automated that. So once a refund was processed, then the confirmation was automatically sent to the customer and the accounting team is notified as well. Notice what's missing here? There's no sub-steps. There's no nested procedures. There's no references to other documents. If you think you need those things, then you've already broken the 7-step rule. The visual structure matters too. Everything should fit on one page. You should be able to see the entire process without scrolling. Each step should include who does it and roughly how long it should take. Now let's talk about the red flags, the warning signs that your process has become overcomplicated. So the first red flag, number 1, sub-steps and nested procedures. If you're writing step 3A or step 3B, you're already losing the whole point of the 7-step system. That's not one step, that's multiple steps disguised as one. Red flag number 2, steps that require paragraphs to explain. If your process explanation is more than one clear sentence, it's too much. And there should be a way to break that down even to smaller steps. Red flag number 3, multiple decision points. A well-designed process should have one clear path with maybe one decision point. If people are constantly asking, what do I do if, throughout the process, it's too complex. And it requires them to make a judgment call. I just want to go on a brief bunny trail here before we dive into red flag number 4 and 5. One of the biggest frustrations I hear is that business owners want their employees to think like them. The fact of the matter is, a lot of what's going on in a business owner's mind is instinct. It's instinctual. You already know what you're allowed to do. You know up to what limits you would be willing to refund a customer or give them free something or other to satisfy them. You've already got the parameters built into your brain because you know the intricacies of your business down to the penny. Where an employee is going to struggle is they're not going to feel empowered to make that decision, and therefore they'll just take a note and turn it over to you. To see where I'm coming from? This is why this is a good example. If somebody were to call and say, I'm unhappy, well, gather the information, and then maybe the ending point of the workflow is to, if the refund amount is going to be more than a certain dollar amount, you must involve management. But if it's under, empower the people to make a decision. Okay, so back to the red flags. Red flag number 4, more than 2 to 3 people are involved. Every handoff is a potential failure point. The more people that are involved, the more likely something is going to go wrong or not get handled at all, which obviously is wrong as well. Red flag number 5, tool sprawl. So if your process requires jumping between 5 different systems, that's a process design problem, not a documentation problem. And here's the brutal truth. If your team isn't following your documented processes, the problem isn't your team, it's the processes. So let me leave you with the challenge. Today, I want you to pick one process in your business, your most important one, or your most problematic one, and count the steps. How many are there? Be honest, break it down. If it's more than 7, you've got some work to do. Now, if you want help identifying where your weakest link is, text the word system to 55444 to get our free bottleneck assessment. And in that PDF, it'll walk you through 6 key systems of your business so you can just answer simple questions and instantly know where's your weakest link. Now, here's the thing. It isn't just about making things simpler for the sake of being simple. This is about creating processes that actually work in the real world with real people under real-time pressure. If you've been saying to yourself that you're struggling to find the right people, or that you can't keep good people, or you can't keep people because your turnover is too high, or they're not being productive, it's most likely because they don't have a clear system to follow. So in our next episode, we're going to dive into exactly what to do when your processes are overcomplicated. I'll give you 3 specific strategies for fixing complex processes, and I'll tell you when it's time to call in the experts. Because here's what I've learned. After helping hundreds of businesses streamline their operations, simple processes scale. Complex ones fail or require middle management to constantly inspect. And the difference between a thriving business and a struggling one often comes down to whether your team can actually execute what you've documented. So count those steps. And if you're sitting there in a 20-step monster process, don't worry, we're going to fix that tomorrow in tomorrow's episode. Until then, remember, if it can't be documented in 7 steps, it's overcomplicated. As always, thanks for tuning in to the Freedom Entrepreneur podcast. If this episode has helped you see anything in a new light, please share it with somebody who also would benefit from hearing the information. And don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. Thanks for tuning in today. Until tomorrow, bye for now.